안내 말씀드리겠습니다. 잠시 후 2021 DMZ Forum 평화운동 협력 세션이 시작될 예정입니다. 내외 귀빈 여러분들께서는 자리에 착석 부탁드리고요. 원활한 진행을 위해서 소지하고 계신 휴대전화는 진동 모드로 전환 부탁드리겠습니다. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please? DMZ Forum 2021 Peace Movement session will begin live streaming in just a few minutes. Please come inside and be seated, and please make sure that your phone is on silent mode. And the English will be used as the official language of this forum and will provide a simultaneous interpretation service during this session. Channel number 5 for Korean, channel number 6 for English. 네, 이번 공식 언어로는 영어가 사용될 예정입니다. 모든 세션에 동시 통역이 제공될 예정이고요. 한국어는 5번, 영어는 6번에 맞춰서 사용해 주시면 되겠습니다. 네, 또 온라인으로 행사에 참석하시는 분들을 위해서 이번 세션은 유튜브로 생중계가 될 예정입니다. 코로나19 확산 방지를 위해서 저희 포럼의 관계자 전원은 방역 소독을 비롯해서 정부에서 권고하는 모든 지침 사항들을 철저하게 준수하고 있습니다. 안심하고 행사에 참여하실 수 있도록 저희가 최선을 다하도록 하겠습니다. DMZ Forum 2021 will be live streamed on YouTube channel for online audience. For the sake of your safety, the whole staff of this forum will make every effort to ensure that we comply with all quarantine measures recommended by the government and authorities to prevent the spread of COVID-19. 네, 그럼 저는 잠시 후에 뵙도록 하겠습니다. I'll see you in a minute. 여러분 안녕하세요.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let us begin 2021 DMZ Forum and the Peace Movement Session 2-3. I am Kim Mini, today's MC. Today is the second day of this forum, and we are conducting various sessions on various issues with various experts on a lot of different fields. Today's session will focus on the movement for peace and local governments on military bases. Today we have various experts with us. I would like to introduce them all. First, we have our moderator, Goyang, consultant of Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. We also have Peace Action Team Leader Shin Soo-yeon of Korean United. And we have Hwang Jun-seo, PhD candidate in politics of Queen's University Belfast. And next we have attorney Song Bong-jun of law firm Yulip. And we have one discussant who are joining us today via Zoom. She's a council member of KINTEX City Council, Kwon Hyun-mi. And we have Choi Myung-suk, the chair of Pan Citizens Countermeasures Committee on Military-Related Facilities, including shooting ranges in Pocheon City. And last but not least, we have Executive Director Choi Hee-shin of 경기북부 Peace Action. I hope you all have a fruitful session, and I would hand my microphone over to our moderator. Good morning, you all. Greetings. We are having this morning session, Peace Movement Session 2-3, under the theme of Residents' Movement for Peace and Local Governments on Military Bases. And I would like to thank everybody participating here with us today. DMZ Forum is being held for the second year and held by Gyeonggi Province, and along with various local governments and citizen societies, we have prepared various sessions on various topics. Today we are going to talk about residents' movement for peace and local governments on military base. We also had a similar session last year, and building on that discussion we had previous year, we're going to talk about the role of the local government in greater details. The military cooperation and the military activities happening in Korean Peninsula can cause problems among local citizens. However, there are many problems arising from with the U.S. military bases in Korea, and many people truly believe that local government should play a leading role in resolving such issues. And we are going to discuss about issues and challenges in the respective of local citizens and the ways the local government can resolve all these issues. The MC have already introduced all the participants, so I would like to move on to the discussion right away without any further introduction. First, we are going to hear from 3 presenters, and we will have 3 discussants with us today to talk about the issue in greater detail. Every presenter and discussant will have 6 minutes to talk, and we will have Q&A sessions with the floor. And we also have Q&A sessions with the audience who are joining us today via online. So please use the chatting function of Zoom conference room to ask us questions. And the session will be finished by 11:50 today. And there will be another session to be followed. So we have this time constraint. And all the information you need is on the website, official website of the forum. First, Peace Action Team Leader Shin Soo-yeon joined the Environmental Civil Organization Group since 2012. And she is conducting freedom of information movement regarding the military bases in the United States. And she is a staff of the investigation committee on the impact of ROK air forces based on local residents' health. And she is also participating in international symposiums for environmental and peace related to the U.S. military bases in Okinawa, Japan, and Korea. Let's welcome her with a warm hand.
반갑습니다. 소개.
Greetings, everyone. As introduced, I am the Peace Action Team Leader from the Korean Korea United. And I would like to talk about the problems and the improvement direction that I have learned as I communicate with the residents. U.S. military bases are scattered around the country. However, the central government has limitations in playing an active role, so I will talk about the local government's role in this regard. 93 U.S. military bases are located in Korea, and this accounts for 242 square kilometers. And the 7% of this area, which is the 211 square kilometers, are taken up by the granted districts. And we have begun the U.S. military base relocation program. And the Yongsan garrison will be returned. So many military bases are moving to Pyeongtaek and Daegu areas. Most returned bases are in the Gyeonggi area. And going forward, we will be using a lot in Pyeongtaek. Starting in mid-2000, we have been receiving the returned military bases. However, there are many accidents, and these are being revealed as the sites are being returned. So the crimes, noise pollution, there is the soil and groundwater pollution, and accidental firing that are violating the residential rights of the residences. In 2007, 3 bases were returned, and this revealed the environmental pollution cases, and these are some of the pictures that show the situation back then. Since the U.S. military bases are walled and there are barriers, so we cannot see their information and we cannot enter the bases easily. So that is why they do not observe the precautionary principles, and they're exempt from many of the responsibilities that they need to take on. So only when the military bases are returned, or only when the pollution affects the areas outside the base, we can investigate the situation. So they do engineering, transportation, and ammunition, and communication, and many other expertise, and many other areas of these military actually have negative impact on the environment, and we have no control over it. As I have shown you the pictures, when we extracted the groundwater of the return sites, we could see the oil layers. And these are the regulated thresholds, but the pollution levels exceed these thresholds. There's benzene, phenol, and other carcinogens that flow into groundwater. And we could see these frequently. And within the US military bases, they use oil for their main energy source. And they're the oil storage tank and oil pipelines. They have negligence, and due to old facilities, these oil spills happen. So around 80 military bases are going to be returned. And the Korean government takes on the responsibility of remediating these pollution. This is last year, the polluted situation in Seoul. And in December 2020, 12 bases were returned. However, the Korean government are going to remedy the polluted soil and groundwater. And in many areas, especially the Pyeongtaek area where military bases will reside, and Busan as well, there are many controversies. The Korean government argues that the US needs to observe the environmental regulations and provisions of Korea. However, they can only clean up the pollution when there is imminent danger to human lives. And we talk about the cost of this remediation. However, we need to look at the environmental justice and soil justice. We need to resolve these issues and look at the damage that the residents are suffering. And this is the fundamental issue that we need to talk about. And there are certain limitations of the central government in resolving these issues. And it is very clear. So I looked at some examples in Pocheon, Pyeongtaek. So what kind of, I would like to talk about what kind of issues each area has. And we don't have any reports or recordings of the current situation, the damage situation in all these regions. The residential rights are being violated, and we don't have any monitoring system. So I believe we need to have that ad hoc monitoring system and create an organizing body and listen to the voices of the residents. And these are the issues at hand. And as these actions need to be taken, we need to enact ordinances or have some expert staff in the administration. So there was the anthrax import into the US military base in Pyeongtaek. Therefore, we are strengthening the monitoring for the environmental pollution, and we are preparing the ordinance enactment soon. And there are many areas where the similar efforts are being taken. So since the ordinances that are enacted by the local governments are subordinate to the central government, we cannot have impact over the US military bases, and it has some limitations. So however, these ordinances reflect the strong will of the residents and the local governments, and there are newly arising issues. There's a COVID-19 quarantine and related crimes, and we need to resolve these issues and crimes. And so basically we need a body to resolve these issues, and we need another organization to resolve the residents' issues and the challenges that they face. The government needs to negotiate with the US, and I think these ordinances and the organizing bodies could be of help when the government negotiates or consults with the United States. And of course, our discussants will mention the detailed examples of each area. And I think we need to collect the data on these issues, make recordings of them. So the environmental provisions under the SOFA are non-binding. So we need to collect the residents' opinions, and local governments need to take heed to that voice. That is it for my presentation. Thank you very much, Ms. Shin. So we don't have the audience here to applaud for us when the presentation is over. So Ms. Shin talked that there are many issues related to U.S. military bases, and many local governments are taking efforts to enact ordinances. Of course, there are limitations there as well. However, it is meaningful that they are taking action. So basically, the local governments need to collect data on these specific cases. And of course, we may not be able to handle these issues right away. However, we still need to start making action and make a team to handle these cases in each area. And I think it is a very meaningful proposition. Next is Mr. Junsal Hwang, who is a PhD candidate in politics at Queen's University Belfast, and he will be focusing on the German cases. And he was an environmental activist in Northern Ireland, and this is his research area. He is interested in arms reduction, organized crime, ecological justice, transitional justice, and post-liberalistic peace and security. He was a research intern at some national institute, and he has been looking at the legal responsibility of the environmental pollution during wartime as well as in peace. He also has a PowerPoint slide. Please give him a big round of applause.
네, 안녕하세요.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I will be talking about the lessons that we can get from German local government when we are talking about military bases and the problems that can arise from their residents. And Ms. Shin has already talked about various issues in great detail, and I think I don't have to elaborate more on that. But the European counterpart of the United States forces in Korea can be NATO troops, and there have been many problems arising from the troops residing in the European countries, and I would like to talk about how Germany is resolving such issues. After the reunification of Germany in 1993, the country signed a protocol on the status of NATO forces with the United States and successfully strengthened the responsibilities of United States forces in Germany and the NATO forces. And they secure the right to demand compensations for environmental damages. And they were able to cover various areas, and they can ask for responsibilities. However, due to special rights they hold, there were legal issues to exercise binding authorities upon them, even after it is confirmed that the European United States forces have violated the environmental law of Germany. Amidst these circumstances, we are going to look at how the local governments of Germany are resolving such issues and coming up with solutions. The first issue is soil and groundwater pollution. Ms. Shin has pointed out that there are various oil-related issues in United States forces in Korea. But not only such oil leakages, airstrips and airfields with airstrips and various kinds of airplanes can cause various environmental pollution because they use PFAS. PFA is used worldwide, including the countries like United States and Korea. And this is a compound of carbon-fluorine bond. And we use this chemical to extinguish a fire when fighter jets or airplanes catch fire. So as you can see in the picture, when a fire jet catches fire after training, we use PFAS. But the problem is that this can be accumulated in human bodies, and it does stay within the body for a long period of time. And we cannot process or treat the chemicals completely. So it is called forever chemicals, which means that it stays within human bodies forever. And United States forces uses PFAS and let them permeate into ground in the case of Germany. And the German local governments are opposing such issues. Soil and groundwater pollution cannot be detected right away. The signs and symptoms are not visible until the region is polluted to a certain level. For example, there is a small city of Ansbach in Germany. There was a small lake within the town, and there was a suspicion saying that the lake was polluted by the troops. And the city conducted independent research to confirm the pollution and the source of the pollution, and prove such facts. The city required U.S. forces in the town to conduct research and confirm that it was that true caused the pollution of the lake. However, the U.S. forces, despite telling them that they are going to look into the issue, but 7 years later, in 2020, they said they decided not to disclose the result of the research, which led to opposition from the local governments. Another problem that U.S. forces cause is noise pollution. Local residents directly experience noise pollution, so they raise questions, they raise oppositions right away, and the problem can be dealt immediately. Aircrafts of military bases can cause noise pollution, but also the shooting ranges can cause big noise pollution, which can negatively impact the mental and physical health of local residents. And what German local government did is that in case of Stuttgart shooting range, it took more than 10 years of protest and negotiation with the US forces, and as a result, they were able to build noise reducing walls around the shooting range. What would be the ultimate resolution would be the closure of shooting range, but after a negotiation, they were able to reach consensus. And worth not, what is not, what should be noted is that even after 10, even it took more than 10 years, the U.S. forces decided to pay for all the extra costs for building noise-reducing walls. And Ramstein Air Base, the largest air base in Germany, put in place nighttime flight restrictions and flight restriction area with through the negotiation with the local government. And small city of Wiesbaden took active measures to discuss issues regarding whether the base is going to be expanded, and they are provided with relevant information from the United States forces to come up with solutions. Due to time constraint, I have talked about just a few cases, but we can get good lessons from such cases. And the central government laid the foundation for the negotiation with the US troops, but it was the local government who played a critical role in the process of reaching an actual agreement. But still, there are lack of authority to legally bind the U.S. forces to follow all the decisions made through the negotiation. And local government first conducted survey on their own and then asked the U.S. forces to convey research on their own. And this is the interesting part that we need to focus on. And sharing relevant data, surveying data with the cooperation between relevant entities can be a very helpful way to resolve such issues. And we need to come up with various ways to actually bind the forces, U.S. forces, to come up with practical ways. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you. So we looked into various cases in Germany to get some insight. And I thought they're all good examples that we need to look into. U.S. forces in Germany and Korea have almost no differences, so we can look into the lessons from German cases, and we should lay institutional and legal basis for the local government to negotiate and reap benefits by reaching agreement with the U.S. forces and setting flight time restrictions and flight restriction zones and other details were good example for us and has a big implications for Korea as well. PFAS has garnered attention recently. Okinawa saw a similar problem, and I think U.S. forces in Korea are also using the same chemical. So other civil societies and associations can look into relevant issues in more detail. We're going to have a next presenter, lawyer Song Bong-jun. He's going to talk about residents in areas adjacent to districts granted to the U.S. forces. He is a public defender at the Supreme Court and a legal rescue committee member at the Korea Legal Aid Corporation and a member of Minbyeon, Lawyers for a Democratic Society. And the main topics he cover is armistice agreement, a peace agreement, the United States Command, U.S. ROK cost sharing, and U.S. military prisons. Please welcome him. A big round of applause.
Morning, everyone. My name is Bong Jun Song, attorney at law firm. In October 2020, more soil near U.S. military bases in Pyeongtaek, Gyeonggi Province was found to be contaminated compared to 5 years ago. And such negative impact directly goes to the local residents, and of course, it impacts them in various ways. And this is related to the interests and rights of the local residents, which is why the local governments need to take heed to it. There is one law. There's a special act on support for Pyeongtaek City following relocation of U.S. military bases in Korea. And Article 6 stipulates that they are to do the basic environmental research every 5 years. And the Special Act on Support for Areas Adjacent to Districts granted to the U.S. Armed Forces in Korea, Article 28, shows that they have to conduct the environmental basic research and come up with measures to prevent the environmental pollution for the granted districts. However, we cannot enter the U.S. military bases. That is why we need to conduct basic environmental survey in order to see the current status of the environment. It stipulates that it is supposed to be conducted for 5 years. And however, the Green Korea United reviewed the basic environmental research for a decade from 2008 to 2017. However, it turned out that many military bases did not abide by this provision at all. So basically, the basic environmental survey is the only measure for us to be able to find the current status of the environment, and the survey cycle is 5 years, which is too long. Therefore, regular and ad hoc survey should be done, and this is stipulated in Korea's law, and there's a special MOU where we need to do the environmental survey every 2 years. Therefore, this 5-year survey cycle is too long compared to our own standards. And we need to see what the current status of environmental pollution is and be able to come up with preventive measures. However, such provisions and regulations have not been developed. That is why we cannot come up with preventive measures appropriately. Basically, many say that we need to amend the SOFA provisions in order to improve the environmental pollution. However, it does not say that we need to give up our territorial rights, our sovereignty, and it does not say that the U.S. exempt from any of the responsibility. Therefore, as for the granted districts, we need to secure the integrity of national territory and environmental soundness. Therefore, we need to exercise our rights and sovereignty. When Osan Air Base constructed the second run airway, the United States said that it will observe the principle and the provisions of the SOFA. and said that it will not contradict any of the annexes of the SOFA. Therefore, the domestic law needs to be applied to overcome these challenges. And we need to extract the meaningful provisions from the previously proposed bills. This is another way to do it. And the Council of Heads of Local Governments where U.S. military bases are located, representing 15 municipalities in the nation, had enacted an ordinance and a bill. And however, due to expiration, they were not enforced. However, it had a significant impact on Special Act on USFK. Therefore, the Articles 40 and 41 and up to 45 had impact on the Special Act on USFK granted districts. So there's the biannual surveys in the Article 40, and we can also utilize other relevant provision. And in order to survey inside the U.S. military base, we can utilize or apply Article 42. So we need to utilize these provisions to amend the current laws. This could be another way as well. And here, the local governments have a big role to play to protect the rights and interests of local residents. The local governments of where the military bases reside need to place responsibility on the USFK more actively. They need to demand that the U.S. take responsibility for their actions, the environmental pollution. So we need to collect samples and hold them accountable for the costs incurred and establish a window of direct communications on environmental issues with the USFK. And starting with the ordinance in 2016, Gyeonggi Province, Pyeongtaek, Namgu and Busan, Namgu and Daegu, and Seoul enforced ordinances to prevent environmental pollution, and this would be enhancing the well-being of the residents. Of course, that they have limitations that they cannot compel foreign governments to comply these provisions. However, the traditional means of coercion is not the only way to go. There are non-binding agreements, negotiations, culture, and courtesy, and these can be persuasive to the international law. As long as local governments are consistent in their demand, foreign governments may be able to change their action and perception. Moreover, the Council of Heads of Local Governments proposed a bill on districts granted to the U.S. forces in Korea and protection of residents' rights and interests in 2001. So we need to come together and we need to show solidarity in overcoming these challenges. The Special Act on USFK granted districts have been in place for 15 years. However, the environment pollution concerning these U.S. military bases is still ongoing, and this has great impact on local residents. Therefore, the local governments need to take active action, enact ordinances and laws in order to handle these cases. I would like to emphasize that these environmental pollution of the military bases have direct impact on local residents, which is why local governments need to step up to the plate. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. Mr. Song talked about the review of the bill on granted districts by the Council of Heads of Local Governments where U.S. military bases are located, and talked about the roles of local governments. Looking at the relevant provisions, it's not really talk about the right exercise. It merely says that when there is imminent threat, they will investigate and report it. And they merely do this simple action, and we cannot enforce them to take action about their negative impact. However, it is meaningful that local governments came together in cooperation to come up with these ordinances. That is why we were able to see the special act on support for Pyeongtaek City following relocation of U.S. military bases in Korea. So basically, this called for interest in the increase in awareness of these environmental pollution cases. So 15 years ago, the local governments were being formed, and they were more active in securing the rights and interests of the local residents. However, such provisions were not in the main SOFA principle because we did not have effective local governments back then. However, now we do have this system in place. I believe the municipalities need to gather wisdom, utilize their experience, and cooperate. So we've had 3 presenters share with us their insights. Let us go on to words, the address of the discussants. So we are talking about the local governments and residents' movement for peace. So we have discussants from areas where U.S. military bases are concentrated. So before we start the discussion, please, if you have any questions, that please leave them on the online chat. So basically, largest military base is located in Pyeongtaek, and Ms. Hyunmi Kwon is a council member of Pyeongtaek City, and she is working very hard to look into the cases of U.S. military bases in Pyeongtaek. She was elected as a member in 2020 by-election, and she was a member of the Research Association of U.S. military bases in Pyeongtaek at the City Council to address environmental issues and incidents caused by U.S. military bases in Pyeongtaek, and she strove to develop administrative and legislative alternatives to do so. She also served as an executive director of the Pyeongtaek Health and Life Protectors campaign to create regional preparation system for responding to chemical accidents. She also performed lectures about impacts of such chemicals on the environment and humanity. So she tried to publicize the impact of these chemicals. Due to personal reasons, she has joined us online, and we will listen to her insights. Please give her a big round of applause.
예, 안녕하십니까.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Kwon Hyunmi, council member of Pyeongtaek City Council. Pyeongtaek City suffered from various issues such as oil leakages from U.S. military bases. And as the moderator have said before, I have joined the Pyeongtaek Peace Center members to take a survey on details of problems arising from U.S. military bases, and we were able to figure out various factors such as noise pollution, accidents, crimes committed by the soldiers. And as the base is completely moved, it is currently expected that a total of 53,000 will reside in the base, and 10% of the United States population are military soldiers. That is why Pyeongtaek City needs to take active role in resolving issues related to military bases. First point we are putting our efforts into is Hwaengsong case. There was a water drainage problem, and this was because there was no information sharing regarding water drainages that U.S. military base uses, and we have not asked for information. And as a result, Pyeongtaek City had to pay the penalty for the problems that arose from the usage of water drainage. Second, we have a town went underwater due to the problems caused by U.S. military bases, and after 2 rounds of lawsuits, local residents were able to get compensation for the 20% of the damage they got, and the cost for lawsuit was even bigger than the compensation they got. And these examples demonstrate that we need to bear the burdens and costs that caused by U.S. military bases in Pyeongtaek. Local residents need to live along the military bases, so the local government need to come up with ways that the military bases and the residents can coexist with each other. We are trying to make administrative efforts to facilitate negotiations and cooperation between the two sides. Pyeongtaek City lost in the lawsuit that I mentioned before because all the responsibilities are scattered around different departments of the city council. And Pyeongtaek City did not have legal ground to protect the citizens who pursued lawsuit, which led to the result that the citizen who pursued the lawsuit paying money rather than getting enough compensation. And Pyeongtaek City should not be a symbol of accident and environmental pollution caused by U.S. military bases. That is why I think we should come up with administrative efforts. That's all. Thank you. Thank you for your insights. It's a shame that you are not here with us today. You have shared current status and the challenges we face. As with the expansion of military bases in the Pyeongtaek City, the city is coming up with various efforts to resolve such related issues, and there weren't not enough responsive measures to effectively tackle the problems the residents faced. And that is the challenge we are facing, and we need to work on such issues. Next up, we have Chair Choi Myung-suk of Pan Citizens Countermeasure Committee on Military-Related Facilities, including shooting ranges in Pocheon City. She is a resident of Pocheon City, and she has been working on relevant issues for a long period of time, and she has become the chair on February 2020. And there are various issues such as noise pollution, accidents, and environmental issues. Let's welcome her with a big round of applause.
소중한 자리에
Thank you very much for inviting me to make an address here at this valuable forum. We have 2 military brigades and many other units. And the Rodriguez Live Fire Range in Pocheon is the largest in Northeast Asia. And there are other training camps. And due to various trainings, the residents cannot sleep due to such noise pollution. There are many ricochets and stray bullets that are threatening their lives and daily lives. Due to tank operation, residents have serious headaches because of the vibration. And basically the traffic is stalled and frozen when the tanks are in operation. And in the nearby areas of the Yangpyeong shooting range, and 1.75 trillion won of damage. And the damage, the monetary damage within the 5-kilometer radius of the range is 684 billion won. And the local residents have created a committee amongst themselves for the Yangpyeong Rodriguez shooting range. And Yongsan Garrison, National Assembly, and in front of USFK bases, the residents and the committee had a demonstration. Starting in October 2015, the residents have been conducting a single-man protest for the past 7 years. And thanks to these local residents' effort, many assemblymen and the government visited the area and promised that they will resolve this issue, and a council was set up under the Ministry of Defense. However, the local residents are still in fear and very anxious about the trainings done at the shooting range. In Seongju, Kunsan, or Pyeongtaek, they have special act so that they could support the local residents, and they have many projects going on. However, the residents of Pocheon still have to bear all the fear and anxiety. So there's the detailed damage of the military bases for the past 5 years. Bullets and bombs fell on many of the residents' houses, and due to the training sites, the roads are damaged, and there is a traffic congestion issue as well. And the crops are damaged as well. Therefore, the Pocheon population is drastically falling. The damage around the shooting range nearby areas are as follows. So we set up the Yangpyeong Countermeasure Committee in 2014. And we have done protests in major areas related to USFK. And I've mentioned that we did a single-man protest in these key areas, also in front of Blue House. And we also had a press release calling on the government to take action. And we had another protest in front of the Yangpyeong shooting range. And we had a session to negotiate and talk about measures with the Ministry of Defense staff. And the defense minister also visited to console the residents. And we also had a consultation session to suspend the nighttime shooting of the USFK. However, they only temporarily suspended the shooting drills, and now they have resumed doing it 24/7, stopping residents from being able to fall asleep at night. When we had measured the noise pollution, it exceeded 100 decibel almost every night. So the local residents cannot feel or see practical solution at hand. I heard that there is a compensation paid to the military protection area. However, this is only applied to the military base itself, not the nearby residents. And we have a large number of residents suffering from these military bases. However, compared to other areas, the Pocheon residents have not received any compensation. So I think we need to amend the laws related to military protection facilities in order to provide compensation that local residents could be satisfied about. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Choi. As mentioned, Pocheon is home to the largest shooting range in Asia. Therefore, it has been very long since the local residents of Pocheon have been suffering from the noise pollution. And basically, the Rodriguez shooting range has been expanded so that they could practice different shooting drills. However, even after the expansion, I don't think they have done another review to provide proper compensation for the local residents. That is why live bullets and all the other bullets actually go through greenhouses and even the roofs of the houses. That is why the local residents set up a committee themselves, did a protest, and talked with high-level officials and the Ministry of Defense. So they have taken to handle these issues themselves. Of course, so I think the noise pollution of shooting is different from fighter jets or aircraft pollution. Although it is very large, it is not persistent. However, as for the live fire, if it is going on for 24/7, of course the local residents cannot live normal lives. Therefore, we need to enact laws, and I think the government needs to review measures that could actually help out them practically. Let's go on to the last discussant. Next is the Choi Hee-shin, the Executive Director of Gyeonggi Bukbu Peace Action. And the GPA is a civic organization established in 2017 for the purpose of regional peace, human rights, environment, safety, and resident participation. And there are Camp Casey, Camp Hobby, and Camp Mobile in this region, and they are talking about the complete cleanup of these military bases. Please give her a big round of applause.
네, 소개받은 경기국
As introduced, I'm Choi Hee-shin, Executive Director of Gyeonggi Bukbu Peace Action. As the moderator have said, I am working as an activist since 2017, and I would like to talk about the peace movement of Dongducheon area. Dongducheon city is a very small city. The total area is 95.66 square kilometers, and 42% of the total area is the granite district to the United States forces in Korea. I would like to talk about current status of peace movement relating to the granite districts. In 1991, Dongducheon Democratic Citizens Association was built, and 1992 we saw a murder case of Yoon Gun-mi, and that was the cause for us to campaign to eradicate crimes committed by U.S. forces. And we also focus our movement on issues around granite districts. And in 2017, we re-established a group called Gyeonggi Bukbu Peace Action, and we are working on a campaign calling for the return of the military bases. And we are having these small activities to walk along the perimeter of Camp Mobile. And currently we are putting forth efforts to stop the drone drill. We are walking along the perimeter of Camp Mobile with citizens. The Camp Mobile is a small camp, and we have been asking for the return of the bases. And last year we saw partial return. 50,000 square kilometers out of 60,000 kilometers of the total camp was returned. And by this walking activity, we are consistently discussing on issues surrounding the camp with the citizens. And there is a reason why only the part of the Camp Mobile was returned. It is because the United States forces are using part of the camp as the airstrip for the drones they use. But the main problem of such airstrips and airfields is that the aircrafts of the airbase fly all over the city, causing noise pollutions. And from the last year, we are seeing drones flying all over the city every single day. As I have said before, Dongducheon is a very small city. And as you can see in the map, drone is flying all over the city all day long, every day. And all the locations shown in the map are civilian areas where most of the citizens are concentrated. And therefore, we are opposing the drone drill of the US forces, and we are asking for the reason why they are flying over the city. And there are two other camps which is much larger than the Camp Mobile in Dongducheon City, but the U.S. forces keep using the small part of the military base to cause problems and damaging the lives of the citizens, and that is the point we are making through our protest, and our demands are as follows. We are full return of Camp Mobile, and drone drill makes us feel like the war is on the brink, and we are suffering from privacy invasion and noise pollution every day, because we do not know what kind of drill is being conducted and what kind of picture or video the drones are taking. So I hope relevant policies can be established, and I have prepared a video to show the drones in Dongducheon City. Let's watch it together.
하나만 더 들어주세요.
There's one more.
앞에 보셨던
The first video shows how big noises that drone makes, and you can hear this noise anywhere in the city, and we believe it is very dangerous if it falls, and it severely infringes upon the privacy of the citizens. We are continuously raising questions regarding this, and this is the end of my presentation. Thank you. Thank you for your insight. It's surprising to know that it's really easy to see drones flying over Dongducheon City. Military bases have been residing in Dongducheon City for a long period of time, and many issues have arose. And the efforts of Dongducheon citizens have reaped historical results. But there's remaining limitations on these efforts. And as Ms. Che have said, there are various issues regarding noise pollution and privacy, and I think it is the local government's role to resolve such issues. This is the end of our presentation and discussion. Let's look at the questions that we can see from the chat. Among the audience joining us with Zoom, there are various lawyers work with Mr. Song, and citizens in Busan is also watching the discussion. The first question is about the lessons we can get from Germany's case. Citizens said that it is very interesting that the local government were able to reach an agreement, and how can be consultative body can be established, and I would like to know more about the legal basis regarding the issue. And another question is about Busan protests against biochemical laboratory. And this kind of laboratory is the responsibility of the central government, not the local government, and relevant lawsuit is ongoing. And we would like to know your insight and the current status of the lawsuit. And Mr. Kim have asked questions about Pocheon. It is surprising to know that the Pocheon citizens are suffering from such a big problems for a long time, and I would like to know about the ways to resolve these issues for the residents. And the viewers of the YouTube did not have any questions, and they are clapping hands. 5 people are clapping hands. And we are going to hear from Mr. Hwang for the question regarding Germany, and maybe lawyer Song can answer the question regarding Busan's laboratory, and noise pollution and other lawsuits can be answered by Ms. Che. Mr. Hwang should go first. I would like to talk about the Germany's cases. As far as I know, there aren't any upper level law that stipulates the authority of local government, but the amendment of protocol on NATO troops and US forces laid the foundations for the local government to actively participate with a proper amount of authority regarding such issues. And such legislative basis serves as a foundation for the local government to do their best to resolve the issues. And there aren't any stipulated authorities and rights, but the citizens are keep requiring and demanding for amendment or legislation. And they're protesting against the US forces and asking for negotiation. One case I mentioned took more than 10 years, and with this steady effort and creation of a special task force, the local government is collecting relevant data for a long period of time. And other cases also see such a progress, even if it takes a long period of time. So local governments in Germany are learning from each other and taking new measures. And consultative bodies can have different authorities, and in common they have access to information. There are various types of information, of course. In case of night flight, it is completely restricted in some areas, and some areas who don't completely restrict night flight, they get information regarding the schedule of night flight or night trainings. And from this, we can see that the local government is trying to guarantee more authorities to resolve issues. And the local governments, the resident, and the US troops can be on the same table to talk about the overall issues. And local issues that are currently happening can be discussed with the military troops in Germany. with the participation of local presidents. And these are what the consultative bodies for. And there also have been various lawsuits, and the U.S. forces in Germany does not want to see any more lawsuits because it costs a lot and it damages the reputation. And this all led to the establishment of consultative bodies. And establishment is not the end because the noise pollution is a ongoing problem. For shooting ranges, it is possible to build noise reducing walls, but for other training centers, it is impossible to build all the walls. So varying by the problems, the consultative bodies are trying to come up with different resolutions, and we should focus on their results in the future. Thank you. We are going to move on to the issue regarding Busan City's laboratory. Can we hear from Mr. Song?
이제 부산시 그 미군
And asking for the closure of the biochemical experiment in Busan and the residential election for it, I think we need to look into this case a bit more in detail. Of course, there are local government regulations in Busan, and I think the residents could argue that it impacts the welfare of the residents under the local government regulation, and if they can claim the damage based on this, then I think they may be able to win the administrative litigation. Of course, we could say they did say that they can only conduct the voting when it's related to the local issues. However, I think the residents could argue that this is related to the local government's work. So legally, we may be able to divide their responsibility. However, I think we do really need to look into it in more detail. And going on to the Pocheon shooting drill and the ranges, there was a question about whether you have looked into filing a lawsuit related to the shooting range damage. The Pocheon residents have not considered filing a lawsuit. A lot of politicians visited the area and promised that they will resolve this issue. However, it was just empty words. Nothing really changed after their visit. So basically, the Pocheon residents are voluntarily conducting the demonstration, so they are paying out of their own pockets. That is why we have not been able to consider a litigation quite yet. A single man protest being done is also coming from the Pocheon residents' pockets. So I think it is rather difficult for the residents to consider filing a lawsuit. The single man protest has been ongoing for 7 years, and I think this is already very burdensome for them. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this Pan Citizens Countermeasure Committee is being operated by the active support of citizens and participations of the local residents. And I hope we can see more hands of help for them. And I hope other politicians can actually provide them with practical resolutions, not on empty words. To wrap it up, we have shared insights from all the other presenters and discussers. I would like to ask if Miss Shin has another word to share. I already knew that there are various issues, but to see these practical examples and real life experiences is very surprising and touching for me. And when we are constructing various facilities, we check for the opinion of the local residents. And I think this should go same for the military bases. And we need to collect all the examples more than we do currently. And all the returned places see constant pollution problems as they are turned into parks or rebuilt into new space. And we should deal with such environmental issues and other problems that infringe upon the rights of the citizens. That was what I thought. Thank you. Ms. Che, do you have any more to say? I have joined various movements in Dongducheon for a long time, but today I was able to learn a lot of things from this session. And we're doing a lot of movements right now in Dongducheon, and we are going to use the ways that I have learned from this session to gather more examples of damage and also work on various issues that we have not been focusing on from now on. Thank you. Thank you. Lastly, Ms. Kwan, who are with us via online, do you have anything to say? Yes, I have got a lot of implications from this session. And I have dealt with various issues regarding chemicals and such issues are not being resolved unless the citizens first raise the issue. So just like the cases in Pocheon, Dongducheon, and Pyeongtaek, these problems should be raised by the citizens constantly, and that would be the only way for the administrative bodies and other government agencies to work together to provide them with a resolution. We should gather support from the various people to work together, and the cases of Germany could be used as examples that the local government can learn lessons from. And I thought this session was very fruitful. Thank you. Thank you. My computer's clock is quite wrong. I thought we have more time, but we didn't. We should wrap it up right now. Thank you all for participating in this session. And I would like to say thank you for all the viewers online and all the staff members and the interpreters of this session. Just like the slogan, I hope we can open the new horizon of peace with the support and effort of these three cities. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much. And this session was not about a big discussion in a big picture, but it was actually a time for us to see the specific cases of the residents. Thank you very much, the speakers, and thank you very much for the audience for being with us until the end. We will meet you again in our next session.
네, 잠시 후 2021 DMZ 포럼 평화운동 협력 세션이 시작될 예정입니다. 내외 귀빈 여러분들께서는 장내에 들어오셔서 자리에 착석 부탁드리겠습니다. 또 원활한 진행을 위해서 소지하고 계신 휴대전화는 진동 모드로 전환 부탁드리겠습니다. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please? DMZ Forum 2021 Peace Movement Session will begin live streaming in just a few minutes. Please come inside, be seated, and please make sure that your phone is on silent mode. And English will be used as the official language of this forum and will provide a simultaneous interpretation service for during the session, channel number 5 for Korean, channel number 6 English. 네, 본 포럼의 공식 언어로는 영어가 사용될 예정입니다. 동시통역이 제공될 예정이고요. 한국어는 5번, 영어는 채널 6번에 맞춰서 사용해 주시면 되겠습니다. 네, 본 포럼은 온라인으로 참석하시는 분들을 위해서 유튜브로 생중계가 되고 있습니다. 저희는 코로나19 확산 방지를 위해서 스태프 전원이 방역 소독을 비롯한 정부의 지침 사항들을 철저하게 지키고 있습니다. 안심하고 행사에 참여하실 수 있도록 최선을 다하도록 하겠습니다. DMZ Forum 2021 will be live streamed on YouTube channel for online audience. For the sake of your safety, the whole staff of this forum will make effort to ensure that we strictly comply with all the quarantine measures recommended by the government and authorities to prevent the spread of COVID-19. 네, 그럼 저는 잠시 후에 뵙겠습니다. I'll see you in a minute.
Good afternoon.
네, 여러분 안녕하십니까? 2021 DMZ 포럼 평화운동 협력 세션
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Peace Movement Session 3-3 under the theme The Role and Implication of Local Governments in Asia-Pacific Region to Build the Peace ODA Platform. My name is Kimini and I am the MC of this session. Welcome everyone to this session. And I would like to thank all the efforts made in order to build peace on the Korean Peninsula. And I could feel that peace can only be built with a collective action. And we will start the session of today. I will introduce the moderator. And the speakers will be introduced by our moderator, Secretary General Young Sam-ma of Korea Arab Society.
네, 안녕하십니까?
Hello, everyone. I am Young Sam-ma. I would like to thank Gyeonggi Province and all the organizers for hosting such a meaningful and productive forum. This session will talk about the role and implication of local governments in Asia-Pacific region to build the Peace ODA platform. This session will also be held in a hybrid manner, both online and offline. I would like to introduce our participants and speakers to you. First, we have a Vice Governor of Peace in Gyeonggi Province. Second, we have President Sung-gyu Kim of Korea Association of International Development and Cooperation. Third, we have Associate Professor Kyung-yeon Moon of Jeonbuk National University.
이어서
And we have some participants online.
participant, Madame Bonadia Tendra Devi, Secretary General of UCLG ASPA. Welcome, welcome.
안녕하세요.
Bonadia, very nice to have you here today. And how have you been?
Yes, I've been well. Thank you very much and very pleased to see you again, Ambassador Ma.
Thank you so much. Next, Indonesia Vice Governor of Provincial Government of East Java, Mr. Emil Elestianto Tarda.
Yes, greetings.
Very good.
안녕하세요.
Thank you so much. How is the weather in Indonesia?
Well, we're focusing on fighting the COVID-19, but I'd like to extend our gratitude to the Korean people because some of our people are actually very much enjoying the Korean drama during this time when they have to stay at home.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Next, Chief Executive Officer, Federation of Sri Lanka Local Government Authorities, Madam Hemanti Gunasekera. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you.
As the Vice Governor mentioned, every country is now suffering from this COVID-19 situation. How is in Sri Lanka?
Actually, we are affected with the third wave now, and yeah, it's spreading quite fast, and we are in a lockdown period at the moment. So confined to our houses. Yeah, but situation is pretty bad, I must say.
Okay, thank you so much. Next, President of Raymond Lemaire International Center for Conservation, Professor Minja Yang.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you
I'm
very much.
pleased to be with you.
Yes, we are also very happy to have you here. I think now you are in France. What time is it now
Yes.
there?
I'm in Paris. It is 4:15 in the morning. It's
Yes.
quite early.
Yes, it is very early. We are very sorry, but we are very grateful for your kind participation.
My pleasure.
다음은
Next, Vice Governor Lee Jae-gang of Gyeonggi Province, Peace, will make his remark.
평화부지사 이재강입니다.
Hello, my name is Jae-gang Lee. And we are talking about the role and implication of local governments in Asia Pacific region to build the Peace ODA platform, and congratulations on holding this session. Secretary General Ma, President Kim, and Professor Kyungyeon Moon, and Secretary General Chandra Dewi, and Vice Governor Dardak of Provincial Government of East Java, and Chief Executive Officer Gunasekera of Sri Lanka, and President Min Jae-yang of RLICC. Thank you for your participation. The HDP Nexus was recommended by the United Nations organization in 2015. And Gyeonggi Province has started its cooperation with UCLG ASPEC to achieve the HDP Nexus and recommend a new idea for this achievement. And we wish to come up and set up the HDP Nexus Committee in order to exchange knowledge and experience of ODA. The HDP Nexus Committee will be set up through our declaration, and I believe this will be a great platform, a major platform for the Peace ODA in Asia Pacific, and increase the cooperation of local governments in the region. According to the Peace Declaration today, we would like to highlight the importance of the role of local governments and open up more opportunities of cooperation between local and central governments. Gyeonggi Province is the largest local government in Korea, and we believe the Peace ODA is very meaningful and important, and we would like to support it to our full potential. And we hope the ODA will continue to develop. Thank you.
네, 훌륭한 연설 감사드립니다.
Thank you for your address, Mr. Lee. We all thank the Gyeonggi Province initiative.
President of UCLG ASPAC, Mr. Ashok Kumar Banjur Shrestha. Please, Excellency, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Namaste and Annyeonghaseyo. I am Ashok Banjur, President of United Cities and Local Governments, Asia Pacific, and Mayor of Tulikal Municipality in Nepal. I would like to begin by thanking Mr. Lee Jae-myung, Governor of the Gyeonggi Province, for his continuous support in the expanding international development cooperation among local governments in the Asia Pacific region. I would also like to thank you, Gyeonggi International Peace Center, for organizing this comprehensive forum to discuss the implementation of humanitarian development peace nexus for local government in Asia Pacific region. It is my great pleasure to welcome all of you joining us both on and offline to this session of the Peace ODA platform. The DMZ International Forum has led the most up-to-date discussions relating to peace and cooperation platform. Today, we have on the table an issue relevant to the role and implementation of local governments in Asia-Pacific region to build the peace. ODA platform, SDP Nexus Committee, the Humanitarian Development Peace Nexus has been proposed. The OECD DAC has a comprehensive response, protected cities and other global challenges. The SDP Nexus aim to strengthening collaboration and coherence between humanitarian assistance, development, and peace program. I am fully aware that there is no universal definition of the concept of SDP Nexus. The SDP Nexus, whatever, is not integrated to explain the work of all actors, but more coordination, bringing together humanitarian development and the peace program actors requires time and coordination. I believe that the SDP Nexus Committee will be a new cooperation system at the local government level in the Asia-Pacific region. I was delighted when Goyang International Peace Center took an active approach to suggest our participation in the Goyang Province's initiative, which is the established SDP Nexus Committee under UCLG expert. SDP Nexus closely aligns with UCLG experts' view on the role of local government towards achieving SDGs. UCLG experts stand with Gyeonggi province that local government in Asia Pacific should gather together and start to exchange ideas on the way to incorporate SDP Nexus into their next ODA project. UCLG expert also welcomes Gyeonggi. UCLG expert also welcomes Gyeonggi Province's initiative, and we are excited to be part of it. Local governments are the key players in sustainable development. There are two implementations of building SDP Nexus Committee. First, the implementation of SDP Nexus Committee can provide opportunity local government, association or institutions members to exchange lessons and opinions and peace ODA. This is vitally needed if we as a local government are to keep peace with the first among and increased duration of emergencies around the world. Second, establishing SDP Nexus Committee as a local government level platform in the Asia Pacific region will prompt the leader of each member local government and all key stakeholders to committee more seriously and play an active role in tackling urgent global challenges such as disaster, climate change, international conflict, and many other humanitarian crises. This will not only help strengthening the capacity of each actor, but also bring us practical results which address urgent global challenges across the SDP Nexus. Usually expect to see the SDP Nexus Committee taking the lead and providing guidance on how to enable the effective, efficient, and transparent mobilization and use to resource. And another important aspect in access to funding, this is definitely needed. If it is done successful, it would not only attract international attention, but also have our own set of best practices to share with the international community as a whole. Let's work together to build peaceful, safe, just, prosperous, livable, and sustainable Asia-Pacific region, and certainly happy society. And this is possible with all of you. We will be able to achieve this mission. At this session, I look forward to a valuable exchange of idea and information on humanitarian development peace nexus. Once again, I would like to express my appreciation to Gyeonggi International Peace Center for hosting such a meaningful gathering. I express my appreciation to the moderator, speakers, discussants, and other experts for blessing this meaningful event with their presence. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for the very nice speech. 지금부터 본격적인 토론.
We will begin our presentation and discussion right away. As mentioned earlier, we would be looking at building the Peace ODA platform, and we would like to talk about the implementation and building of such. And there has been very active discussion about the HDB Nexus, and we would like to look into it in more depth. And this is also a process of setting up the HDP Nexus Committee. We have 3 presenters today, and other discussants will be having a discussion as well as taking Q&A. The first presenter today is Professor Sung-Gyu Kim. Professor Sung-Gyu Kim is the president of Korea Association of International Development and Cooperation and a professor at Korea University. His presentation will be about the HDP platform.
협력학회 학회장을 맡고 있는 김성규라고 합니다. 오늘 의미 있는 행사에 초대해 주신 특히 이재강 평화부
President of Korea Association of International Development and Cooperation. Thank you for Gyeonggi Province and moderator for this meaningful event. We have time constraints, so I would like to move on to my presentation right away. We are talking about the HDP Nexus and Peace ODA platform. And lastly, we are going to talk about the role of the local government in establishment of ODA platform. The HDP Nexus, I would like to briefly introduce the concept of HDP Nexus. We are seeing various international conflicts. There are poverty issues and racial, religious, and other differences cause conflicts around the world, and such conflict and development coexist in the current international society. And there are many methodologies to seek a balance between the two, and the main method getting attention nowadays is the combination of the two. And when we talk about humanitarian love, everybody agrees that we need a new approach, especially when it comes to peace. We need a new approach. when we talk about a lot regarding the double nexus, the humanitarian effort and the HDP nexus. And such programs can be integrated into long-term demand of local residents. For example, a project can help local refugees to live by themselves. Shows that such humanitarian effort can help the development of local society. And we need to move on to triple nexus from the double nexus we have been discussing a lot. In this triple nexus, the concept of peace is added to the double nexus of humanitarian aid and development. So the triple nexus means connecting humanitarian aid, development, and peace together. In 2016, World Humanitarian Summit was held, and it was a turning point for the triple nexus to be implemented in earnest. We are seeing how these three factors can be combined and see synergy effect. And a big question arises at this point. Why is this concept of triple nexus garnering so much attention? I think the answer is the vulnerability of the global society. The widespread of conflict and structuralization of the conflict around the world causes various problems, and inequality and other issues are deepening, and vulnerable countries are seeing greater impact of such issues. Over the past 10 years, we are seeing the number of events caused by conflict a big increase. And the conflict is happening for a longer period of time compared to the past. As of 2014, the duration of the conflict estimated to be 9.6 years, which means we are seeing a lot of sustained conflicts. Sorry, the number was 26.7 years, which is very long. And such conflicts can be ended in some point of time, but once again be sparked, and many peace treaty and agreements are disposed after a short period of time. So the important point is for us to think about is that how sustainable development were supporting peace. I would like to focus more on refugee issues. So involuntarily displacement and movement of human beings are causing problems. In case of Myanmar, we are expecting problems arising from refugees who are fleeing from the country. And these refugee problems usually caused in low-income countries. And the refugees flee from their countries for more than 16 years in average. And a new deal was established as a new agenda to resolve these issues. And in 2015, after the selection of SDGs, we are seeing visualized issues regarding peace. The size of the budget for the peace building is not important here. We need to look at the perspective of humanitarian aid after the conflict or event has occurred. if the aid is only last for a short period of time and temporary basis, this will become our structural problem. Using the beneficiary country system is very important. We should make sure that they take a central part in humanitarian aid, and when it comes to government system building for a vulnerable country in a stable state, we should focus on the vulnerabilities of each country. And local government has building networks in various issues, such as humanity rights, peace building on the Korean Peninsula, and other socioeconomic sectors were the focus of the local government. For example, ICLEI is playing a big role in terms of the health and environmental issues. And the UCLG is also established based on ICLEI's support. And what is important is that the local government is playing a central role, making them to take an active position. And when we look at the positive examples, I would like to talk about real cases. There is this little city named Groni, and it worked on various environmental protection agenda to make sure that the local government can deal with issues with the free participation of all the relevant citizens, and they can also participate in planning of the initiatives. And this brought positive results in the governance of local government. And we need to figure out if the local government guarantees the practical participation of the citizens. Gyeonggi-do is working on Gyeonggi-do-style ODA platform and projects. And this is garnering a lot of focus as the first ever ODA platform catering to the regional characteristics. And I believe we should once again check if this kind of free participation are being ensured for this platform as well. Despite the fact that the platform is told to be a very good one, we should once again check if it is a really good platform that can actually benefit the citizens. And I would like to talk about the overall direction of the platform and the peace talks. Peace talk is very important, especially on the Korean Peninsula. To keep and build peace, we first need to set the directions for the peace platform and reach a consensus among various people. We need to figure out what are the steps that we need to take to achieve the goal of peace platform. And if we agree on the value that HDP triple nexus pursues, we need to suggest the modality of the relevant projects. And to this end, local governments and the Association of Local Governments should work on the process. The size of the budget does not matter. The sustainability is more important, and whether it contributes to the long-term plan of our government is more important. Budget is important, but what is more important that is that we have multi-directional approach in using the budget. And lastly, various stakeholders need to interact and build platform and relations with each other. And such interests should be adjusted by a committee. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
He explained clearly the concept of the triple nexus, that is humanitarian, development, and the peace nexus. And also about the peace ODA as well as the triple nexus. He emphasized the need for the preventive measures rather than emergency response measures, and also longer-term programs rather than the short-term project. And also the participation by the civil society is one of the most important factors. About the peace ODA programs, how to implement this program, and what kind of programs local governments should take, that is also important. And also he mentioned about the current budget transaction, the mechanism for covering multi-years. That is also a very good and also very constructive suggestions. And also finally he mentioned about the triple nexus committee, how we can utilize this format to enhance the interest of local government and the people. 두 번째 발표는 인도네시아의
Next presenter is at the Indonesia.
Of UCLG SPAC, Madam Bonadia Tendra Dewi. The floor is yours for 13 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, 안녕하세요. Let me first greet the distinguished speakers and moderators here. Vice Governor Lee of Gyeonggi Province, Vice Governor Emil Dadak, very good morning. Secretary General Yung Samma, President Kim, Associate Professor Moon, and dear friends Hemanti and Min Jayang, and all participants. 안녕하세요, very good morning. It's really a great pleasure for me to join this important forum, and I really like to congratulate Gyeonggi Province for organizing this very, very important session, which is part of the DMZ Forum today. And the topic is extremely important because we all have responsibility to build a peace in this world, especially in the Asia-Pacific region. So maybe some of you who have not heard of UCLG ASPAC, we are the amalgamation of three biggest organizations, EULA, UTO, and Metropolis. The amalgamation was in 2004. And then the Secretariat of UCLG ASPAC is here in City Hall of Jakarta. And we have been connecting more than 240,000 cities and local governments. And Gyeonggi Province is an active member of UCLG ASPAC. So we are the largest regional section of UCLG. What kind of activities and areas we have been focusing? One is the advocacy. This is also built toward peace in this region. I just gave you an example, the situation in Myanmar. local governments made a statement and expressed our concern on the Myanmar situation. And we submitted the statement to the ASEAN Secretary General for his attention as well. The recent situation also between Palestine and Israel also have been discussed in our global organization. And then we also come out with a statement. So this kind of thing, just an example on how advocacy we have been doing related to the peace. The second is about capacity building and development, because this region is very diverse regions. We have cities, local governments that are in high level development, but there are also local governments and cities that are not quite fortunate enough. And so through the capacity building programs, we try to reduce inequality, and these capacity building programs range from various sectors, climate change, water, sanitation, poverty reduction, local economic development, and many others. So the third point is a policy and research. We have been working with several institutions to develop research. And the fourth is implementing programs and projects. And the last one is about decentralized cooperation. I like to highlight here decentralized cooperation because this is what we have been promoting: city-to-city cooperation, local government and local government cooperations to, of course, towards the end of the goal, which is peace building. So in this last, the number 4 slides here, we also promote the city diplomacy, local government diplomacy, working, of course, related to the theme today is building Korean Peninsula peace. So I had a visit to North Korea, because we have members from North Korea, which is the Korean City Federation. And I actually had visited them there twice, and this is also give me huge understanding and different perspective on how North Korea look like, which might be sometimes not shown in the global media. So the visit here was also attended by former president of UCLG ASPAC, Mayor Surabaya, and she's now the Ministry of Social Affairs of Indonesia, together with Mayor Strasbourg, and of course, you can see also Minja is there. So following the visit, we facilitated several exchanges between North Korea and other members, including South Korea. So North Korean delegations visit to Surabaya, Indonesia was also the opportunity for them to learn about the local government's challenges and find also solutions such as waste management, sanitation, and this is also part of the priority of North Korean members. So we support the Korean Peninsula peace and reunification, and we really hope that through these local-to-local dialogues, we can support the peace building, not only in Korean Peninsula, but also other parts of the world. So we actually just released a manifesto 2020 to 2025 that state the importance of building effective democratic local governments and good governance. Yeah? And the release of this manifesto is actually given the opportunity to create this HDP nexus, humanitarian development peace, and supporting the world peace in order to accelerate the implementation of SDGs, particularly in the region. So we really support the initiative of Gyeonggi province together with UCLG ASPAC to set up this HDP nexus. So SDP nexus, definitely this relate very much on the Sustainable Development Goals implementation. So we stand with the Gyeonggi province together, local governments in Asia Pacific region to start the ideas and have the exchange or collaborations to incorporate SDP Nexus into our ODAs, Official Development Assistance projects for local governments. And it's very clear SDP Nexus relates to Goal 16 as well as Goal 17, and definitely support the global agenda implementation and as well, especially acceleration. So we help by strengthening the capacity of each player, because every local government has different kind of ability to run ODA programs or make plan of the ODA program. So this could be what could SDP Nexus prioritize. And we have been working on the several SDGs localization programs. This just give you example through this localization of SDGs program. We promote partnerships, we enhance capacity of local governments, especially in the mainstreaming this global agenda into local actions and local plans. So, and also on the importance of financing, because we know that local governments have limitation on finance. So we try also, we have been promoting this financing options through public-private partnerships, through, perhaps through these bonds, as well as through a different mechanism, maybe accessing this green climate fund. So these kind of things have been also shared in this localizing SDGs. So UCLG World also released Peace Prize, and the prize celebrates successful initiatives undertaken by local government and stimulate others to follow. So we also generate public attention, because what is important, local government has a crucial role to play in building peace at the local level. And sometimes, this local to local diplomacy can happen even when the countries have no relationship. I think this is quite amazing what could be the value of local to local diplomacy. So here, against donors actually provide ODA for a variety of reasons, for humanitarian, for political and economical considerations. And we know that over 1 billion people around the world continue to suffer today from this poverty, hunger, and natural calamities. And of course, with COVID-19, the situation has not been so good. We see a lot of people also lost a job. I think this kind of information and also situations also help us to understand how could ODA be given effectively to those that really need it. So we, as a member of international community, we bear a moral obligation to bring peace and prosperity to our society. So to be more practical, the implication of humanitarian development peace nexus initiative, it will motivate, I think this is important, it will motivate the local governments members, cities in Asia Pacific region to exchange knowledge and information on bilateral and multilateral ODA. And then the second is also, this also provide a platform that will form the leaders of local government, cities, including, of course, and I'm happy that we have Vice Governor Emil here, because we need the leaders' commitment to have more serious kind of actions, and also, an active role that we all have in tackling these urban global challenges such as climate change, disasters, international conflicts, and other humanitarian crisis. So the third one, the Gyeonggi Provincial Government's Initiative, this is closely aligned actually with UCLG ASPAC view, as well as with the manifesto that we released 2021-2025, especially in achieving the SDGs, because we have only less than 10 years to achieve the SDGs. So let me saying here some of the way forwards. This is actually the my perspective of Zero Vision's that align with the SDG nexus. I call it my 5-0 visions here. One is we have seen a lot of situation where we see inequalities everywhere. So I think the first zero, and definitely this is aligned with SDG nexus, is I envision a human-oriented Asia-Pacific that considers the rights of all, including women, children, and youth. And the second, this could be way forward as well, is the zero crime, violence, disasters, accidents. Yeah. We want a really safe environment for women, for children, for everyone, especially, and also for the privileged people, free from conflict and disaster. Because if there is no peace, there is no development. I think this is very important. We want peace and stability. And the third one is a zero poverty, a society where everyone has a home and food in their table. And this is something what we want to see. This is why ODA that can promote local economic development can also help eradicate poverty. This could be the priority. The fourth one, I think we all aware of the impact or effect of greenhouse gas emission in our life. We have no rights to breathe clean air. We have no rights to drink clean water. We have no rights to live in a comfortable homes. We have no rights to enjoy our public transportation system. This is why it's very important that peace is not about diplomacy. It's about also building places where everyone has a right to breathe and to live in a comfortable life and environment. So number 4 here, zero greenhouse gas emissions and zero pollutions. This is also, it's very unfortunate that many cities, especially big cities, still have a kind of situation where the environment is still not good for the citizens and the people. So we really need to build a good and clean environment. The last one, which is fifth zero, is a zero intolerance and zero discrimination. Even with the different faiths and beliefs, we must be able to show respects and to earn respects. There are also a lot of indicators of high tolerance cities, high tolerant local governments, or high tolerant region. This is something that I think is important that we need to pursue, because in the end, this is what peace is about. So we want equal human being in our life. So in my last slides, in conclusion, we really support the idea and also the proposal made by Gyeonggi province as well as the UCLG ASPAC for the creation of SDG Nexus. We already circulated and then members agreed to create this SDG Nexus. So basically the SDG Nexus committee is already agreed by members, and also members consider the importance of having the SDG Nexus. So this could be part of solutions to resolve so much global challenges and help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And the second one, in my conclusion, UCLG ASPAC Manifesto 2025 already demonstrate the importance of effective democratic local governments, and as well as creating a good governance. So the release of manifesto also gave opportunity for the creation of humanitarian development peace nexus in supporting this world peace and accelerate the global and local goals. The opportunities are huge. I think the COVID-19 gave us a lot of lessons. What kind of cities and regions we want to see. We want cities and regions that have more greens, more public spaces, also have, a clean and healthy environment. So the last one, in my conclusion, UCLG ASPAC expects this SDG Nexus Committee could lead and provide guidance, and also advise how can we make effective and efficient and transparent mobilization and use of resources as a state in this Addis Ababa Action Agenda. I think this is very important. Many local governments say that there is no fund, but actually somewhere there are also funds that cannot be accessed or cannot be accessed because they don't know how to access the funds. So I think it's very important that we bring this ODA closer to local governments in order to have much more effective collaboration as well as effective implementation of the programs or projects that lead, of course, to peace. So if this is done successfully, it will not only attract international attention, but also have our own set of best practices, because local governments have been doing so much things, and especially, of course, this relate to COVID-19 responses, and now in the process of recovery plans. So we have been compiling these best practices, and of course, if SDG, after we launch this SDG Nexus committee, then a lot of best practices, how local governments make effective decentralized cooperation, city-to-city cooperation, or local government to local government cooperation can be also compiled, and also could hopefully change the policies of so many donor agencies, how ODA should be made and delivered. So this is end of my presentation. I really once again to congratulate Gyeonggi province for excellent initiative. We are with you. UCAG ASPAC Secretariat will support you. And I think you already heard what UCAG ASPAC President said, that we are ready to make a difference in this world and build peace in these regions, and of course, reunification of Korea Peninsula. Thank you very much. Kamsahamnida.
버나디아 사무총장님 대단히
Ms. Bernadia, thank you very much for your input. We heard the UCLG's role around the world and strengthening the local government's role and developing human resources were great takeaways. And of course, the peace building on the Korean Peninsula is also vital. You talked about the role of local governments in building peace and talked about many projects and programs that Gyeonggi province has proposed and shown your strong support for all of them. And regarding the COVID-19 situation, the entire world faces many challenges. And to overcome these issues, you talked about the pledges and policy implementation of the leaders. This was you made some very interesting proposals. And you talked about your 5-0 vision regarding HDP. Talked about tackling inequality, poverty, crime, pollution, and discrimination. If we were to come up with solutions in these 5 areas, I believe we will be able to achieve the 17 SDGs. And lastly, Madam Bernadia talked about the launch of the HDP committee. So we have decided that we will launch this HDP Nexus Committee. This shows that the local governments can lead the efforts around the world and organize the plans and projects. Let's move on to our third presenter. The third presenter is Professor Kyunghyun Moon of Jeonbuk University. He has majored in international development and he is a great expert. Today he will be talking about the local government's ODA for peace building in the Asia Pacific region.
방금 소개받은
Good afternoon. As introduced, I am Moon Goyang. I would like to say thank you for the organizers for inviting me to this meaningful session. I would like to first congratulate the establishment of ODA platform and HDP Commission. I would like to especially congratulate Gyeonggi Province for all the progresses. 3 years ago, Ms. Bernadette came to my office, and I felt it was very regrettable that we could not discuss these issues with Jeollabuk-do province of Korea. And after 3 years, the UCLG was constructed. And if Gyeonggi province can put forth these efforts in a successful manner, I hope Ms. Bernadette can contact me for more successful result. I would like to talk about 3 things. Why the local government plays important role in SDGs, and what kind of role the local governments can play in achieving SDGs. And lastly, I would like to talk about the inter-Korean relations and exchanges. And I would like to also talk about the implications such interchanges have on SDGs and what kind of coordination the local government of Korea needs. In 2016, SDGs were selected to replace 2015 as MDGs, and I believe the SDGs themselves represent peace. When we add people, peace, and human rights, it boils down to SDGs. There are SDGs related to people and the planet, prosperity, place, and lastly, partnership. So these 5 pillars are main aspects of the partnership to achieve SDGs. As you can see, there are various targets over various sectors. Can be boiled down to peace building, and none of the goals can be separated from the discussion when we talk about the achievement of SDGs. Now I'd like to tell you why the local governments play an important role in terms of achievement of SDGs. Over the history of our international cooperation, efforts based on countries' effort to reduce poverty and reduce inequality has become the main forces in the early ages of the international cooperation. But recently we are seeing changes in the approach. The SDGs have 17 goals, which is a lot, and subordinate goals are even more than that. And we are seeing that expertise, resources, and other budgets can see their limits when we are trying to achieve all these goals. That is why we need various agents and roles to be put into the efforts to achieve SDGs. And local government is one of the player in terms of achieving SDGs. The table shows the data about Korea's status. It's a little bit outdated, but it shows the ratio of local government ODA and the volume of local government ODA. You can see that it's seeing a steady increase, small but steady increase. The Korean government have established the third basic plan on local government, which stipulates the role of local government. Then, in what kind of sectors these local governments are conducting projects regarding SDGs? There are various projects compared to the past, but I think we need to see more progress in this issue, especially on the variety of projects. There are projects like invited training, scholarship, and volunteers, and PPP, private-public partnership projects, and other multilateral corporations. And further future cooperation with UCLG will include it in the multilateral cooperation. So 1.6 billion won worth of budget was put into 29 projects. And Gyeongbuk area saw a large number of projects being conducted, which is around Semaul movement. Semaul movement is one of the major ODA projects in Korea, and Gyeongbuk took a central role in conducting projects related to Semaul movement. And in the white papers of the local government stipulates the goal of the local government project. As we are talking about HDP nexuses and ODAs, I've looked up the white papers of various local governments. And in case of Gyeonggi, it was the only local government to include the word peace. And Gyeongbuk also included contents regarding Semaul movement and ODA program in its white paper. And Gangwon focused on the agricultural and tourism areas. And in case of Gwangju region, as you can see in the table, eco-friendly agricultural project and desertification project and agricultural machinery technology project were the main focus. And for Seoul, the city management and maintaining the cities were the main focus. And moving on to the North Korean issue. Up until 2007, there have been close inter-Korean relations, and the governmental project supported such exchange. And I think this is the most successful examples of ODA projects. In 1995, we provided urgency aid to the North Korea, and up until 2007, this kind of support was provided to North Korea. And I would like to talk about what kind of SDGs are connected to such efforts, and what kind of roles that local government can play to this end. Various civil societies and associations and local governments played a central role in supporting North Korea. And Gyeonggi-do was one of the major players in this effort, and such efforts of NGOs, local government, and the government's effort to support North Korea were very helpful to stabilize the humanitarian issue of North Korea. And this can serve as the foundation on which the North Korea can understand the international society and the South Korea, and we were able to build mutual trust based on such ODA projects, turning North Korea to information provider. And I also like to use the term safety net. There were many stalemates in the course of inter-Korean relations and exchanges, and the dialogue has been ruptured. And the NGOs and local governments established a network with various agents in the North Korea, and this network played a central role and provided a big opportunity for the two Koreas to restart the dialogue. As I have said before, these ODAs not only helped to reduce humanitarian issues in the North Korea, but also helped North Korea in other factors. And I'd like to talk about 4 factors in terms of the history of two inter-Korean relations, and these are also emphasized in HDP Nexus. And due to time constraint, I would like to move to the last point I would like to make for my presentation. From now on, the local governments can be a central agent in terms of pursuing HDP Nexus. And I would like to think about the challenges that the local government adjusting their roles with other parties. The authority rights of the local government should be redefined. How we define themselves and how we recognize their roles and how we support them would be the main focus, should be the main focus of our discussion when we are talking about HDP Nexus. And we need to reform relevant institutional and legal basis to support such efforts. And there are country partnership strategy which is the strategy the government came up with to strengthen the local government. And in that regard, SDGs and other agents should play its role. And country partnership strategy needs the participation of local government, and we need to define the ways to help them participate. And lastly, we need next we need to talk about the enhancing expertise of local government. We review the achievements of the relevant policies and projects. And Korea got the opinion that it needs to nurture more experts on the local governmental level. To that regard, the local government should think about nurturing expertise of their personnel. And within the local government, and among the local governments, we need to establish partnership And there are regional offices of local governments nationwide. And such offices and other HDP Nexus agents need to cooperate, and we need to figure out the ways they can cooperate with each other and the ways to utilize the resources they have. So I think that inter-local governmental cooperation is needed. And the HDP committee is about to be established, and we need the resource to stably operate and develop the committee, and we need to discuss more and deliberate more on the ways to raise those funds.
SDGs and the role of local governments to achieve the SDGs. It is very helpful to understand that each local government has its own specific areas to concentrate in the process of ODA programs. Professor Moon also made a very good analysis of assistance programs by South Korean government as well as the civil society towards the North Korea. He pointed out the several challenges and also made the suggestions to overcome them. How local government can coordinate with the central government and with the COICA and also civil society, as well as how they can cooperate within the organization. And also they need to identify special areas, and also most important thing, how they can secure the ODA funding. Thank you very much, Mr. Moon. From now on, we are going to proceed the discussions. 첫 번째 토론자는
Our first discussant is in Indonesia, and he's here with us online.
Emil L.S. Dianto Tardak, Excellency, you have 5 minutes to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. I'll try to go directly, but because I cannot name one by one all the distinguished presenters and discussants and panel members. So I think we have seen how the issue of the triple nexus, humanitarian, development, and peace, is really potential and in addressing issues relating to crisis and how it impacts the welfare of our fellow citizens from all around the world. And I think the presentation, particularly from UCLG aspect, shows that there are two important aspects that we are looking here. The first is the fact that when we talk about HDP Nexus, organizations around the world following the UN officially launching HDP Nexus, like the European Union, they all mentioned that the key is about resilience. How do we build resilience amongst the communities who are living in disaster and crisis-prone area? Now, organizations like EU launch ODAs, or assistance programs, or interventions, they call it, but they have what they call as resilience marker. So the idea is humanitarian is to really address the acute needs, the short-term needs of people's livelihood. Development is to build the long-term resilience so that people have the capacity to withstand any future disasters and crises themselves by building up the long-term resilience. And peace is actually a natural product of actually improving people's lives. When crisis happens in areas where people are underdeveloped, then the likelihood of the impact as well as the prolonged crisis or protracted crisis is going to increase. So, but when people actually have better livelihoods, then we can minimize this potential issues surrounding peace. Now, the second most important part of this particular forum, which I would like to then extend my appreciation to the DMZ Forum, is the local government. Because we know now that around the world, across different countries, more authority is being given to local governments. And therefore, it is important that local government plays an important role in this HDP nexus, because local government has the capacity to actually improve the effectiveness of such initiatives. UCLG Aspect is one of the organizations that has spoken at the Global Forum during the Habitat 3 back in Quito on the importance of local government playing a role in setting the global agenda, because local government is at the forefront of achieving sustainable development goals. Now, if we can actually integrate the UN platform that has been embraced by many international organizations on HDP Nexus, and we also try to link this with local government, one of which is through the city diplomacy that is being done during the Surabaya mayor's visit to North Korea a couple of years back, then this will become very, very potential to help us achieve peace and improve people's livelihood. And as a closing note, because this is a short intervention as a discussant, I would also like to sincerely wish that the peace in the Korean Peninsula can be achieved. I think the Gyeonggi province and all the movements that have been done with the effort to promote the desire of the Korean people to achieve peace in the peninsula is something that the world needs to support. We know now that in different parts of the world, we see conflicts and crises happening either between countries or within countries. And I think in addition to, of course, the fundamental diplomacy and politics, I think HDP Nexus is an area where we won't talk about affiliations, we don't talk about political differences, we don't talk about who's right or who's wrong. We just talk about people, that people need to be taken care. There are fellow human brothers and sisters. And this is an approach that is really practical to be done at the local government level. Let the central government handle the high politics, but the local government is about people to people. With that, I conclude my my statement. Thank you very much, and all the best for DMZ.
Thank you, Vice Governor. Currently, we see many humanitarian crises around the world. And you talked about the resilience in terms of development projects. And you have given very productive insight on how we should do the development work. And local governments should be given more authority. And thus, we should utilize the platforms revolving around UN. Cooperation amongst local governments in the project should be reinforced. Therefore, and lastly, the local government should be able to play a more active role in helping the people. You also talked about supporting peace building on the Korean Peninsula. Second discussant today is Madam Hemanti Gunasekera.
Thank you very much. And thank you, DMZ Forum and Yonggi, for this timely initiative. I represent South Asia, and the discussions today clearly indicated the importance of having these kind of initiatives where we have kind of a diplomacy across borders. If you take South Asia, you can see there are different dynamics happening at the moment. 1/3 of the world population is living in South Asia. And if you take the conflicts that are happening around the world and conflicts that are happening in Asia, has a lot of burden on local government. Take Bangladesh, for instance, like, the cross-border Myanmar to Bangladesh, and the strain or the burden with local governments is immense. So despite they are grappling with their own problems, these additional burdens are also with the local governments. So I think these kind of initiatives are very important. One thing is to learn from each other how to handle, and then talking at a level where actions could be taken at a very grassroots level. I'm really thankful that these kind of international platforms are being built and discussions are moving forward to resolve the issues that are happening, in the region. I really appreciate that point where speakers have spoken about the role of the local governments. That it is very apparent sometimes the national governments have hostile attitude towards each other, but local governments are interconnected. UCLG aspect is one of the ideal platforms that has proved that, because we, as South Asia, there are differences between, say, Pakistan and India. But at the local government level, we all work at different projects. We discuss different issues in these kind of international platforms. We learn from each other. So as the governor from Indonesia spoke, let the national governments deal their political issues, but these local governments can work towards achieving peace and prosperity of our of tomorrow. So I urge the members of this nexus, the members of this platform, to have more and more interaction, organize more and more interaction among the youth, because they got to understand and they got to promote peace in the region. If we keep on, confining these discussions to us and forgetting those the future of the world, the youth, I think the next generation will also, will be ignorant about what we have spoken, what we have initiated, what we have created. So we have to ensure in these kind of platforms, the youth are also being represented. So once again, I thank the organizers, and I'm sure this nexus and this initiative will take us to a greater height. And on behalf of South Asia, then again, I'm very thankful to the organizers. And once again, I endorse that statement. Let the national governments settle with their political issues. Let local governments get together. We build our regional cooperation. We build our regional networks and send a message to the national government that we could work together, and we are focusing on the communities and we are focusing on our own people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This is also very good suggestions from the discussant. 최근의 위기 상황.
To deal with the current crisis, the discussant mentioned that the role of local government is expanding, and to figure out the solutions, we have prepared this session, and the discussant thanked the organizers for preparing such a meaningful event. And the platform, such as the HDP Nexus Committee, can make sure that the future generation to live in a better future. And discussant once again thanked for timely preparation for this session. Next discussant is Min Jae-yang, president of RLIC.
Yes, hello. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good morning. Good. So my name is Min Jae-yang. I'm a retired professor. I'm no longer president of the Lumiere Center. And this is my second retirement. I've also retired from 30 years in the UN. So I'd like to thank the Gyeonggi province and the UCLG aspect for inviting me to this DMZ forum, which is addressing issues that are very close to my heart. And So through my UN work, I've been very involved in population movements, therefore cultural identity issues, and through my UNESCO work on issues of heritage and development. So I would like very much, and also I agree with my two previous discussants that decentralized cooperation is, of course, needs to be somehow endorsed by the central government in order to hopefully obtain some ODA funding. But I think it needs to keep its own independence, because whatever one might say, even in humanitarian aid, it is still driven by political considerations in geopolitics and even military considerations. And having been in UNHCR, I can assure you that humanitarian aid is very much an extension in many ways to military and concerns. Most unfortunately, because this is how the donors manipulate the United Nations, which I'm sorry to say, but this is a reality. And however, I have been brokering city to city, region to region cooperation for many decades now, for 30 years now, under the auspice of the UN, under the auspices of UNESCO, partially because funding has always been very rare in UNESCO, but also because cultural exchange is very much about a technical exchange, much more than the exchange of goods. And so this is why I feel that it's very, very important that in the case of the Korean Peninsula, because of the continuing political issues going up and down in spite of the very admirable initiatives by President Moon, I think it's now still continuing to have very serious problems. So I think that somehow we should take advantage of the neutrality, if you like, of culture as a form of starting the initiative, starting the exchange. And in this regard, because of the SDG goals, I agree that SDG is really the vehicle towards peace, because without SDGs, peace would not be sustainable. So I believe that by taking advantage of UN conventions, in the case of UNESCO, such as the 1972 World Heritage Convention, in the 2003 Convention for Intangible Heritage, as well as the 2005 Convention on the Diversity of Cultural Expressions, which is actually about cultural industries. So if you look at the case of the Korean Peninsula, despite the decades now of the division, it shares a common heritage that goes on for centuries, dates back to centuries. And of course, there are similar histories and the legacy of colonialism, of the annexation from Japan, the Cold War, and the geopolitics that have really destroyed the welfare of this peninsula for many, many decades now. But historically speaking, it is still short in comparison to the many, many years of the shared heritage. So I think that there is every hope for a peaceful reunification of the peninsula. So I think that very concretely, we can start with something very innocuous like food culture, food and health, because that's one of the key issues today of concerns, which can be very much linked with issues of the SDG as well. Food culture, health culture, and then go into dance, music, films. The two Koreas have both been very keen on the industry of the film. And as things improve a little bit, go into the economics of culture, because for the time being, economic cooperation is banned internationally. And it's been very difficult for ASPAC for UCLJ ASPAC to promote cooperation because of the embargoes. So I think that if we look into cultural exchange, we can somehow convince our respective governments and the donor governments to let this be outside the framework of the embargo. I mean, I think we're not here to meddle into the nitty-gritties of the of state politics. We have to, of course, be aware. But I think I agree with the two discussants that we really need to make sure that decentralized cooperation is a people-to-people cooperation through using the platform of the local authorities. Because local governance, as we all know, is the closest to the people. So somehow, if we can succeed in proper governance at the local level, this can also lead very much to to peace building and the promotion of the SDGs. So I would, and I'd like to end by saying that I have been to North Korea twice. First, in my capacity as a UNESCO official in supporting the North Korean authorities in the preparation of the Koguryo Tombs World Heritage Nomination dossier. And secondly, with Bernadia and the UCLG ASPAC delegation, we went in, I think, 3 years ago to North Korea. And we feel very frustrated that we have not been able to promote a more concrete form of cooperation. And I would very much like to benefit from the two Korea's presence at UNESCO and the two Korea's presence at UCLG, and to promote local government cooperation between the two countries. Thank you.
양 교수님 대단히
Thank you, Professor Yang. Talked about the issues of humanitarian aid projects. So you were saying that we should factor out the political issues in providing the aid. However, the Korean Peninsula is facing many volatilities in its political situation, but we should utilize the cultural neutrality. Yes, culture is indeed important. The cultural exchange has a great role in the exchange and international cooperation. And you talked about the people-to-people exchange. And you mentioned that you made 2 visits to North Korea and talked about ways for us to help out the DPRK and how local governments could play a significant role.
디스커션. 그리고 그간에
The Gyeonggi Province and UCLG ASPAC have been striving to launch the HDP Nexus Committee, and we have seen a fruitful outcome. In this aspect, UCLG ASPAC has come up with a peace declaration for the launching of this committee.
You have prepared the peace declaration for HDP Nexus Committee in UCLG ASPAC. Can you share the declaration with us?
Thank you very much, Secretary General Ma. Let me read this peace declaration and allow me to read this peace declaration. So, Peace Declaration for Humanitarian Development Peace Nexus Committee and UCLG ASPAC. We, the United Cities and local governments of Asia Pacific members and all distinguished guests who are joining this session of 2021 DMZ Forum, reaffirming the importance of strengthening intra-UCLG ASPAC cooperation to maintain the dynamic development and peace building of the member cities. Acknowledging the strategic importance of humanitarian development peace SDP Nexus in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which will contribute to global poverty reduction, improve quality of life, and peace and prosperity in Asia Pacific region. Encouraging the development of the SDP Nexus to accelerate economic growth and social advancement in Asia Pacific region with peace building. Do hereby endeavor the 1. To promote greater cooperation among UCAG ASPAC member cities and local governments to exchange the knowledge of SDGs Nexus approach. Second, enhance capacity building and develop the peace building areas. Third, attract humanitarian investment to implement peace building in emergency areas such as safety and security that are significantly threatened. Fourth, create favorable conditions to facilitate the development of SDG Nexus approach. Fifth, encourage the research, development, and application of the case from Asia-Pacific region. Adopted on the 22nd May 2021 in Gyeonggi Province, the Republic of Korea. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Konadia. This is another big step for HDP Nexus. 오늘 짧은 시간이었지만 아주 건설적인
Despite we have a short session, I think we had fruitful discussions, and I would like to thank all the participants of today's session.
Thanks to all participants, especially from overseas study guests who are now in a very difficult time zone. The session is over. Thank you so much for your close cooperation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
네,
you.
이것으로
This is the end of the session. I would like to thank all the speakers for this session. But before we wrap up the session, we heard the declaration from the Bernardia.
제가 잠시 착각을 했습니다.
So again, we are going to wrap up this session on the role and implication of local governments in Asia-Pacific region to build a peace ODA platform. Thank you again for all the speakers and participants. Thank you.